They laughed at her, called her crazy, useless, and begged for scraps as if she were invisible. On the cracked sidewalk, shivering under a tattered blanket, she offered a meek smile and asked, "Can I fix it for food?" Nobody noticed the fire behind her tired eyes, the hands that had once steered the fastest cars in the country. To them, she was nothing more than a black homeless woman, lost and forgotten. But hidden beneath the dirt and the mockery was a legend, a woman whose name had once dominated racetracks and broken every record. And today, the world would finally realize that some heroes can't be measured by what they have, but by what they've survived. Once, she was a name shouted across stadiums, a woman whose hands gripped the wheel with unmatched precision, whose instincts on the racetrack left seasoned drivers trembling. Her life had been a blur of speed, applause, and fame. But fame is fragile, and life can be cruel. A single accident, a harsh twist of fate, and everything she had built came crashing down. Sponsors vanished, opportunities disappeared, and the world that once cheered for her now turned its back. With nowhere to go, she wandered the streets. Her racing trophies were sold one by one to pay for rent. Her medals melted into dust. Neighbors crossed the street to avoid her. Children whispered as she passed, and strangers pretended she didn't exist. She became invisible, reduced to the label society had so easily slapped on her, a black homeless woman. Yet beneath the grime, the scars, and the worn clothes, her heart still beat with determination. Even in the coldest nights, she remembered the roar of engines, the smell of burning rubber, and the taste of victory. Memories of cheering fans flashed in her mind as she shuffled along the city streets, collecting cans, begging for change, and offering to fix anything for a scrap of food. Every time someone mocked her, she felt the sting, but she refused to let the world erase her story. Every sneer, every dismissal became fuel, a quiet fire growing inside her that no hardship could extinguish. Days turned into weeks, and the city streets became her arena. She fixed broken bicycles, cleaned shattered windows, and repaired anything anyone would throw her way, all for a meager meal or a few coins. People laughed at her, spat on her, and dismissed her with a wave of their hand, never noticing the precision in her movements, the skill behind her touch. Each job she took reminded her of the racetracks she had conquered, the engines she had tamed, and the trophies that had once adorned her home. Yet, every small act of labor was met with scorn, and she began to wonder if the world had truly forgotten the woman she once was. One afternoon, she knelt outside a crowded diner, offering to fix a broken sign for the owner in exchange for lunch. A group of young men sneered as they watched her, tossing coins at her feet as if she were a stray animal. "Can you even do it right?" one mocked. Another laughed. "What's the matter? Can't get a real job?" Their voices were harsh, sharp enough to cut through the chill of the morning air. But she kept her head down, hands steady, her heart quietly remembering the roar of engines and the thrill of the track. She didn't flinch, didn't argue. She simply began working, her movements precise, her mind focused. As the hours passed, her quiet determination began to draw attention. A few passers-by slowed their pace, watching as her hands danced over the broken sign, tightening screws with care, straightening bent edges, bringing it back to life. One of the men who had mocked her earlier paused, his smirk fading as he realized the craftsmanship before him. The whispers began, questions of who she was, where she had learned such skill, why someone so talented was left here, invisible, in rags. Then came the news. A local racing club had announced an exhibition race for emerging talent, and a generous donor had offered a wild card spot for a veteran racer. She had been forgotten by the professional circuit, erased from memory, but the world of racing had not completely closed its doors. A flyer tacked to a lamppost caught her eye, fluttering in the wind like fate itself. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with the pulse of destiny calling her back. She realized that if she could find her way there, if she could prove she still had the skill, she might reclaim the identity stolen from her. Yet obstacles loomed. Her body had endured hardship, her resources were almost non-existent, and the laughter of those who had mocked her lingered in her mind, threatening to drown her courage. Still, she refused to give in. Each step forward became a statement, a silent rebellion against the cruelty and prejudice that had tried to erase her. With every passing day, the fire within grew stronger. She wasn't just fighting for a race, she was fighting to show the world that brilliance cannot be buried under poverty, that courage cannot be diminished by mockery, and that a legend never truly disappears. It only waits for the right moment to roar again. The day of the exhibition arrived, and the air buzzed with excitement. Engines roared, cameras flashed, and fans crowded the stands, eager to witness the newest talents. She stood at the edge of the track, dressed not in the flashy suit of a champion, but in the worn jacket that had been her armor on the streets. Her hands trembled, not with fear, but with anticipation. Every step she had taken to survive, every sneer, every mocking word had led her here. As she climbed into the car, memories flooded her mind. The glory of past victories, the cheers of the crowd, the precise dance of steering, braking, and accelerating. The world might have cast her aside, but behind the wheel, she was untouchable, untamed, unstoppable. Engines revved, the countdown began, and the crowd held its breath. Then, with a surge of adrenaline, she launched forward. The track tested her every skill. Sharp turns threatened to throw her off, sudden obstacles demanded split-second decisions, and competitors underestimated her, seeing only a woman who had vanished from fame, someone they assumed had no edge. But each move she made was flawless, born from years of experience and an unyielding spirit. Her focus was absolute, her determination radiant, her heart beating in perfect rhythm with the car's engine. Spectators gasped as she overtook driver after driver, her reputation unknown to them but her talent undeniable. Those same people who had mocked her on the streets, who had laughed at her desperation, now watched in stunned silence as she carved through the race with a skill that defied every expectation. Cameras zoomed in on her face, revealing the fire in her eyes, the quiet defiance that had carried her through nights of hunger and humiliation. The final lap approached. She was neck and neck with the reigning champion, a driver who had never known defeat. The world seemed to hold its breath. With a calculated shift, a surge of acceleration, and the instinct that had once made her a legend, she crossed the finish line. Not just first, but victorious, triumphant, undeniable. The crowd erupted, a wave of cheers and disbelief washing over her. She had done more than win a race. She had reclaimed her identity, shattered the prejudice that had tried to define her, and proven that brilliance cannot be silenced. The crowd continued to roar, yet she felt a quiet calm inside her, a peace that only comes from finally being seen for who you truly are. The streets that had once rejected her, the mocking voices that had tried to diminish her, now felt like distant echoes. She had proven, in the most undeniable way, that talent, courage, and determination cannot be measured by wealth, status, or appearances. News outlets picked up her story, headlines celebrating the woman who had risen from the shadows to reclaim her place in the racing world. Interviews, features, and invitations flooded in. But she carried herself with humility, knowing that her journey was never about fame. It was about survival, resilience, and proving that no one should ever be defined by the narrow lens of prejudice. The city streets, once her arena of shame, now held a different meaning. They were a reminder of how far she had come, a testament to the human spirit's capacity to endure, fight, and rise again. And while the world had underestimated her, she had never underestimated herself. Every scar, every struggle, every moment of ridicule had forged her into someone stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. As she stood before a new generation of aspiring drivers, sharing her story and inspiring countless others, she reflected on the truth she had discovered. Greatness is not handed out, and respect is not given. It is earned, sometimes in silence, sometimes in solitude, and sometimes in the face of unimaginable adversity. She was living proof that the world can be harsh, but brilliance, courage, and dignity always find a way to shine through. And as you watch this story unfold, ask yourself, how many legends are hidden in plain sight, dismissed and mocked, waiting for their moment to rise? How many voices go unheard simply because society refuses to see beyond appearances? If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and comment below. Let the world know that brilliance and courage can never be silenced.